Fire is one of humanity's oldest technologies. In fact, it might just be the very first technology humans used. But what if you never learned to use fire? What would your life be like without it? Let's find out in Life Without Fire. How did early humans survive before fire? It would have been pretty tough. See, they didn't have matches or lighters, so starting a fire would have been no easy feat. They couldn't just chop two pieces of wood together like you see in the cartoons. They would have needed to use a bow and drill, a bamboo and fire saw, or a fire piston. None of these methods are easy, which is why fire was probably first used by accident. Maybe a lightning strike or an angry volcano would have set the forest ablaze. Early humans probably watched these fires with curiosity, and once they realized they could use them to cook food and keep warm, they likely used these techniques to start their own fires. But if you were an early human who didn't learn these techniques, your life would be pretty hard. You would have to eat everything raw. And don't think of it as a fun culinary adventure because you wouldn't have salt or pepper or any other seasonings either. Raw meat would be nearly impossible to chew and digest, so you would mostly be eating fruits and veggies. But without being able to cook them, they would all taste terrible. You would basically be stuck eating nothing but salads for the rest of your life. And let's be honest, that gets old after a while. Now, you might be thinking about using a barbecue grill, but there's a problem. You also wouldn't know how to make tools. Without fire, you wouldn't have the ability to smelt metals like iron and copper and make things like knives and plows. So, you definitely wouldn't have a barbecue grill. You wouldn't even have a regular grill because cooking your food over an open flame makes it easier to see when it's ready to eat. Without fire, you would have no idea if your food was done cooking or not. You would probably end up burning your dinner more often than not. Speaking of which, without fire, your house would become your personal jungle gym. Because of fire safety regulations, modern buildings aren't allowed to be built without smoke detectors, but even those aren't foolproof. Many people die in fires every year because they don't have working smoke detectors or they ignore them. If you lived in a cave, you wouldn't have to worry about this because there weren't really fires in caves unless you started one. The only danger would be wild animals wandering into your home, and you probably wouldn't have too much to worry about on that front. People who live in places where wildfires are common will often put up barriers around their homes to prevent animals from escaping the flames. And many animals can sense danger through vibrations, sounds, and even changes in air pressure long before a wildfire reaches their home. Even if you're not trying to build a fire, embers can travel huge distances in a wildfire, meaning you might not have a home to go back to even if you survived the blaze. But the worst part about not having fire is that you wouldn't be able to tell anyone about it because you couldn't develop writing. Writing is based on the idea of drawing pictures for things, but those pictures are symbols. For example, the written word dog is a symbol. We agreed upon as a society to represent the actual dog, but before we had writing, we had cave paintings. Cave paintings are more than just a precursor to writing. They actually served as a type of communication, but without fire, your cave paintings would look like daytime TV, aka terrible. With poor lighting, you wouldn't be able to make detailed paintings, meaning you wouldn't be able to communicate as effectively. So even if you wanted to tell future generations about the time you bravely survived the Great Salad Famine of 12,000 BC, they would never know. I'm sure you're eager to get back to a nice hot meal now, but please use caution when cooking. You would not want to wind up like some people who tried to make fire without fire and ended up in the hospital. In short, fire is an essential part of the human experience. From cooking our food to keeping us warm to helping us create works of art, it's hard to imagine life without it. But hey, if you don't like vegetables, then you're in luck, because now you don't have to cook them. That's all for this video. Keep on thinking.